Hello, you're watching SuccesSoul Conversations with me, Vicky Paul. I'm an intuitive, an artist and an author, and I'm passionate about self-transformation and human potential. And I believe that when we reconnect with our soul self, we activate our gifts and our talents, and we become who we were born to be. So I wanted to set up a series of conversations with people who have inspired me by their journey of soul reconnection. And I'm absolutely delighted to have Kellie J. Wright on the show this evening, or well, today, I guess, whenever you're watching it. And I've got your bio up here, so forgive me for reading it because you have done a lot. So I just want to introduce Kellie. Kellie is an author, self-love transformation guide, host of Conscious Speaks at Alternative Talk Radio. She's a transformational speaker. She is a blogger, a business owner at Internal Journeys, and her first book, Internal Journeys, A Spiritual Transformation, is a book of awakening sent forward in time. So perfect guest for this series. Now, Kellie not only clearly is a very busy lady, she's on a passion-filled mission to help individuals discover their own truth through her self-actualized process called the 90-day transformation. She's walked herself out of darkness into the light and become a mirror, a seer, and a healer. Her ability to reflect back to you exactly who you are so you can find your true colors. This sounds amazing. Vibrate to your own frequency and lead a more peaceful and truthful existence. Welcome. What a CV. I am humbled.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a 7-year CV. It's been a 7-year journey. So it feels, there's a lot there. Thank you for reading it to me. Sometimes I forget.
I know. Sometimes you think you forget because you're so busy. It sounds clearly so busy doing so many things to serve and help other people that, oftentimes you forget to go, actually, I'm pretty amazing. Look at all the things I do. So I'm going to hand that.
I've had that epiphany quite a bit, especially during our, changing times right now where I forget that I'm pretty amazing. That's the crux of our work. We do this to remember we're amazing and then share it with others so they can find that too. And we're not immune from the having to remember part. We're just as human as everyone else. So
absolutely. And I think when you work in the kind of spiritual, I don't want to call it the spiritual industry, but when you work, in this realm, when you work to be of service of other people, you can sometimes, it feels a bit icky to go, I'm pretty good. I'm not comfortable saying I'm good. It almost feels egotistical, which is the thing we've been trying to push away for the last however many years.
Yeah, it takes a while to own that I am. And it's not as easy as reading a book or learning that that's one of the most important tools that we can use in creation. We really have to become comfortable in our cellular structure with I am. And I often coach my clients when they're new. I say, when we get to I am work, just remember that even starting to get to the I am it's part of the journey. And I remember when I've been on a spiritual path my whole life, but as I, wrote the book 7 years ago and really opened these doors and blew them off, I had to work with I am deeply. And I remember laying in bed, before going to sleep, you do your affirmations and it's like, or in the morning when you get up and I'm like, I'd start to go, I am. And I'm like, am I? And then, the words would kind of come in and then, you start to work with, I am love, I am joy, I am abundance. And you're like, but am I? And you pull it back, right? And so it's really fun to go, that's part of the process is getting in and going, but am I? And eventually you get past it and you're like, I am, right? It's just like,
I always started with the who am I? Not I am. I was like, who am I? I have no idea. So I'm excited to hear about your journey, and I wanted these conversations to kind of follow the process of my book. I have a new book coming out, or the book is out, depending when you watch this, which is amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I know, it's wonderful. You'll know the journey being an author. So it's called How to Be SuccesSoul, and it's really a guide to reconnecting with your soul. And for me, I wanted to make it as easy to understand a process and as truthful as I could make it, because everything that I've been through is in this book. And I certainly found, and I'll be interested to get your take on this, I found it difficult to find an honest account of what the I am journey is like, because for a lot of people it's pretty rough. It goes on for a long time, but it's a kind of non-negotiable process. So I've broken this down into 3 stages just to keep it simple. So I'd like these conversations to kind of follow this. So the first stage in the book how to be successful is the process. So for me, I'd love to understand what that process, no, sorry, I beg your pardon, the understanding, I don't even know my own book, good Lord, it's been a long day. I've jumped
You will.
This has been a really, for anybody who's watching, this has been about the third time we've had to connect to try and make this work. So the energy is all a kerfuffle. So it's the understanding, my mistake, it's the understanding. So the understanding is, what was the event, the time in your life, the period, the sort of, I guess, the kind of cataclysmic moment, if it was a moment, that made you realize that life just couldn't go on anymore and change needed to happen?
You know, it's a really good question, because we all look for that point as our starting point in our journey. And I thought about your question a lot, and, you know, I never felt lost in my journey. I wasn't immune from my trials and tribulations, but I knew I was on a journey from about 13 on, because my aunt told me. She was a spiritual worker, and so we were around this type of work. We weren't pushed into it. We weren't, you know, we were kids, so we weren't, you know, trying to do the work, but, you know, you're on a journey. You know, you're here to learn. We chose each other. You chose your parents. You have a soul family. I'm getting spiritual chills. You know, they're connected. We're all connected. You're never alone. God's within you. And when you get that information at that young age and tuck it into your soul strand, and you really believe it, you become a little bit unafraid. But it doesn't mean that things aren't your journey. You came to learn it. So I like to always say, we're not immune from our journey. You can find this information out, and if you haven't learned the part you're supposed to learn yet, you're still gonna have to go through that before it really, the I am sinks in.
There's no fast track. There's no fast
no fast track. No matter how much, if you get the script early, you still don't get to use it fully.
It happens when it happens, people.
And so as I was traveling my journey, you know, and I thought about your question. I thought, you know, it comes back to grandpas. You know, you were talking about your grandfather in one of your videos. And my grandfather told me when I was really young, this is going to be the best time of your life. You kids don't know it. And I thought, I'm listening, I know it. So I just chose to really do whatever I wanted. And I don't know if that made me a really good daughter, but I was really just like, Dad, Grandpa said, this is it. And nobody else was listening. I did. And so I always knew the first part of my life was going to be this, and the second part would be the best part. And this is the second part for anybody out there listening. And it started 7 years ago. And so 7 years ago, I had gotten to a place where everything that was a part of my journey that needed to be quelled, flipped, or cured, no matter how hard I tried. And I was smart. I was working. I knew what I was doing. I was pressing. I was talking. I was diving. I wasn't able to get through that door. But I knew the door was there. So again, you get the script early. You don't get to pass until you get to that right frequency connection. And I finally asked the right question one day. And it was.
Do you remember what that was?
It was at the end of another failed relationship, and something I've been working to fix that break, that connection. And I just sat down. I'd always sat down at the end of a relationship. I grew up in abandonment issues with divorce, so you can tell by that I've been in a lot of relationships. It's just the way life goes. It's really easy to see who you are when you know, because you look back, you're like, yes, like. Totally get that.
That's a great teacher.
Yeah, right. And but I asked the right question. I sat down and I thought, I don't want to keep doing this. I was 43 years old. I can't keep doing this. This is not fun. I want to spend the rest of my life with someone and have a proper relationship and not have to break up every 2.5 years. And I thought, well, I started pressing on my mind. I call it softening your mind. Whenever I do my spiritual work, I soften my mind, and I want to listen and hear myself. And then I take the words, because I work with the word. And so I take my words and I let them bounce off and, into the ethers per se, if that makes sense. And then I wait for it to come. And then I'm just a conduit with words and spirit. So they start to come. And then I know where I'm going. And so I was like, okay, so what was the constant in every relationship? Like, really, what is it? And I'm sitting there looking at all the different relationships in my mind. And And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, it's me. I'm the only constant. I'm the only constant. It's not this one relationship that you're trying to figure out to do it better next time. It's all of them. You were the constant in all of them. You created everything in your life. Yeah. And, you know, with your family, with your friends, with your money, with your relationships, your friendships, your work, everything. You're the only constant. Oh, I got spiritual chills. And it just blew my eyes open. And I was like, holy cow. I talk about in my book, I said, my knees hit the floor on earth, but they also hit in my mind. I hit the floor. I was just like,
because that's like a loaded, I mean, that's like a load of responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, I like responsibility as responding to your ability. Yeah. You know, and that's like, instead of blaming everything and everyone, it's like, holy moly, it's me.
Yeah, it's me. And even taking the blame my whole life, you know, old enough, you know, not so much with the divorce and the abandonment issues with my, you know, growing up. I just learned to tuck those away. That became my mask. So I didn't know that, which was creating all the relationships. And, but I always, you know, never blamed them because I know better. So this is me. What can I do? But I still, I couldn't get that door to turn because it wasn't time. Oh, I wish I could help people see that it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You're going to learn when you're meant to. You can't miss a step. You don't want to. And when you get that door to open, you'll go, thank gosh, I didn't miss those steps because I would have never got this door to open. It had to happen. And I was on my face a million times, you know, high functioning, partier, you know, I go out, my, you know, weekend warrior. We're Scottish and Irish, you know, we grew up around drinking and it's just, you know, it's blue collar family. And so it was really just my life. And I thought, well, this doesn't have to be my life. And that's why I kept struck. I'm like, I don't like that. It keeps crashing and burning and I'm good. And then I get my heart hurt. So I go on a bender and it just was really an emotional roller coaster that although I was trying to figure it out, hadn't got to the right point. This is why a coach is so important, because a coach, if you're ready, can help you see someplace that could take you a long time. Now, you're not going to come to that coach unless you're ready. And even if the coach shows you, you're not going to see it unless you're ready. But being there gives you a little bit of a jump, because I see how I was trying so hard and I just needed one sentence or word to turn that place. And I know sometimes I'll talk to a client and it's really a lot of conduit when we're talking, and then I'll say something like, oh, I got it. I'm like, okay, goodbye, go run with it. It's yours to open up, but I needed to give you that key. I got the key that day and I never looked back. I literally downloaded the blogs that became my book that walked my mind out of darkness. That first
the camera so we can see it. Sorry, just so that, internal journey is wonderful.
And this book was originally about 6-7 months before I wrote this book. Through Spirit in a Dream, I was given a name of a website to buy called Internal Narcissies. And I did. I woke up in the middle of the night and bought a website. Didn't even know how. Googled it, bought it. Spirit said, tuck it away. And when I was ready to start writing, I knew that's what the website was for. And it's an Internal Narcissies project. It became Internal Journeys, and that's the text I teach from. But Internal Narcissies is really about learning to love ourselves for who we are on the inside, not on the outside. And it's that whole catharsis of rebirth, transformation, the dark and the light, you know, the echo in the back of our mind, you know, that metaphorical drowning. And because my gift my whole life was thinking and thoughts, I knew how to open up thoughts and words. So I've been playing on this in my mind with Spirit my whole life. And by the time I got to this point where when I got that aha moment, I said, okay, God, here we are. This is it. Like, how are we going to do it? I can't tell you how incredible it is to look back and go, wow, it's cool you pulled that off, because I through deep water work and meditation, which I always use water to heal. I
which is interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but it's interesting you use water to heal, because that's obviously synonymous with emotions, you know, and it was your emotional, your heart, that was your journey, that was your challenge, was this kind of love, self-worth, emotional journey. So, you know, the universe...
I know your gift, so you're over there going, I'm seeing all this stuff.
But I love when, and again, this is why I was so passionate about doing these series of conversations, because every conversation I have, you just see how the universe is trying to point us in the right directions if we can only see. So you connected with water, and that was where your healing took place, but that was your water, very much an emotional an analogy, and a physical representation of our emotions. So there's signs all around us,
around us that we're not aware of. I leave glasses of water everywhere, and if we don't have the tool yet, not because we're not worthy, not because we don't deserve it, but just because we didn't know to look or haven't found it yet. This world is chock full of signs and different knowledges to help us go, that's what I was doing. I believe we're presenting ourselves literally through everything we do, everything we need to heal, just like you said, but yet we won't know. I remember, near the end of I did 3 90-day transformations. And it's amazing. It became a super mental transformation. And at the end of it, I was in the desert. And my aunt said, oh, it's funny they sent you to the desert so you could go dry out. All the emotion, right?
Love it. I love it. And that seamlessly, well done. You can tell you're a radio presenter, carried us beautifully on to the next stage, which is the process. So you've obviously had this, I don't want to call it awakening, but a kind of a reconnection and understanding. You got the key 7 years ago. So what did that kind of, again, if you can sum up the 7 years, or there must be kind of key points, what did that look like? What did that feel like? Who was with you on that journey? Who wasn't?
Yeah. Getting that first key changed me in ways I couldn't even believe. And I got a radio show right after my first radio show. Started living and growing out loud. And a year later, a guest came on my show and challenged me to a 90-day transformation. She wanted me to finish my book. It was still up on blogs on my website, and everyone knew I wanted to make a book. And I said, okay. And I went home because I said, I have to meditate. This is a spiritual show. I need to work on something spiritual. Again, not listening, right? And in meditation, was told that I was going to work on this 90-day transformation to become balanced in mind, body, and soul to find true love. And I thought, great. I also started crying because in the past, anytime I realized that I had been trying to do a 90-day transformation for like the last couple of years, because whenever I would have a breakup, I would take 3 months off. I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't do anything. And I'd just work on how can I do better? What did I do wrong? And I was really just trying to mend myself. So literally I was trying to do a 90-day transformation, but I just didn't have the keys yet. So I started crying because I realized that I used to call those periods transition periods. And so I realized one word had held me back from changing. I hadn't committed. I hadn't I-am'd, right, to transform me. I was trying to transition, wrong word, good intentions, wrong word. And so I kept going through the same thing. It's that simple sometimes. That key that I got turned into a whole room of keys and over the journey. And I love each of them. And so what happened is after I started to edit one blog a week, because there's 13 blogs in a 90-day transformation, and that's the journey I now teach. And I realized shortly after that I was processing my book. I had written it through deep water meditation 1 week at a time and posted. So that's my unofficial 90-day transformation. But this one became an actual process. And by the end of it, I'm not going to lie. I really do still know. I know I'll meet my intended one day, but every transformation I wonder, is this it? And I stopped doing that. But, I thought at the end of it, I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be someone else. It was me. I became my true love and my connection with spirit, with God. And it just blew my mind open again. There's no lack of getting your mind blown when you're fully commit, face forward, no matter what it looks like on the outside or feels like on the inside. Absolutely. And so that turned into me setting across country and doing 2 more 90-day transformations, spirit-led. And each one of them are 3 keys that create the self-love mastery journey I now teach.
So what is that? Because obviously, so many people watching this, and I've been there myself, very lucky to have met, a wonderful husband, and no marriage is perfect, let's be honest. But I feel very blessed, he's very supportive. And and I know myself, I call it square peg round holing. I would go out with guys that, had some of the stuff that would look right, and I would try and, force it to make it right. And then eventually, I'd get chucked, or, he would chuck me, and I remember, after the kind of, I don't know, whatever relationship it was, I went, right, that is it. No more square peg round holing. And I just said, I'm going to put it out the universe. I'm going to meet my soulmate. And that was it. I didn't have any expectations of what they looked like. And I kind of handed it over, and I just switched off. And it's for people watching this, because it's natural. We're only human. We want to meet, somebody that we can fall in love with and share our life with. And so many people say, well, when you love yourself, you'll meet the right person. And, when you're not in the right space, that's kind of like, well, I do, I'm a pretty good person, so can you, and again, obviously a 90-day transformation it takes 90 days, but what are the kind of key stages of that journey for people watching who are, who would love to meet somebody, and they're in that kind of space where it becomes very difficult to continually say, I'm worthy, I am loved, I love myself, when every day, someone else on the, internet dating's like, swipe left, not interested. It's really hard to keep your spirits up, so what can people do, a takeaway, I guess, from your journeys?
The hardest thing you'll ever do is realize that you don't need it. And that you're the only one, that what you're searching for is yourself. You are looking for the love that you haven't provided yourself, or that you've blocked from yourself from finding. And so what I found in my transformation work was I had a lot of healing to do. I've been on this journey for 7 years, and the last almost 4 years I've been single, not a desire to meet anyone. And my family is like, wow, because I was always in a relationship. And do you find you have to, sorry, just to say that, because, culturally, again, depending where you watch this, but, UK, USA, I imagine the cultures will be saying, it's kind of like, what? You're not with somebody? What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Do you get that? Do people?
I actually do. People always want to set me up, and I'm like, I'm single by choice. I don't have to be. But I think it's natural, because what happens, I've found, in transformation work, because I take it to so many levels, is that emotionally as a planet, we're still really incapable of understanding the complexity and the honesty of what true love is. It has nothing to do with a value or an assigned reference or term. It literally doesn't have anything attached to it but pure joy and love. And from day one, we're taught, most of us, not everyone, but most of us are taught that we need to look for someone to love us and spend our life in. We have to have certain things to be loved or feel loved. We have to compete. We have to wear the same things. We have to look the same. And it's really, beauty's been manhandled. Love's been manhandled through the centuries. And it's really what I want to come shake up, because it doesn't matter. When you shine bright from the inside, you'll find your soulmate, like you said. I really like how you said, you were ready and you just gave it to the universe, because if we start trying to define, we're blocking again. And you just gave me a good key today, because for me, that's trust in that. And what it means is trusting yourself that you're going to attract who you are, not who you think you need or want. And so the confusing thing about transformation work is it's a lot of mirror work. And one of the first keys you'll ever do is learn to see yourself. And it's really, I say, being doing spiritual work's the highest thing you'll ever do, because it's like, whoa, And
so for those who don't know, sorry, I feel like I'm interrupting you, but you've just got so many nuggets that I want to prod at. For those who don't know what mirror work is, can you please explain that?
Excuse me?
Sorry, for those who maybe are watching that don't know what mirror work is, can you explain that?
Yes, mirror work is, I'll take it back to something that's really easy for people to connect to, especially if you're a woman. When you teach your children, they're following you. You show them, this is good, that's good, don't touch that. They follow you around, even your animals, because you and I are animal mamas. They follow you around and they're looking for guidance. These young, beautiful new entities on earth, and that they're mirroring you. What you do, they're mirroring. The first eyes you look into when you are born, most of us, is your mother's, and that becomes your first love, no matter what. That's your first love. And so we work with those energies and that mirroring qualities. We grow up mirrored from the energy and the love and the creative life and the knowledge and all the experiences that our mother and our caretakers, fathers have. And that molds our first book of self. So as that first book of self is out there in the world, it starts looking for other things to mirror. So we're attracting that same relationship. I call it our love relationship that we grew up in, that energy we're creating from that moment. And so that could be very odd for some of us because, well, most of us, nobody's immune from this. So you can think you have the perfect family, you still have things to work on. You can think you have the worst family, you still have things to work on. We all came here to learn. And so mirror work is really, it can go very far. So I'll keep it at an intermediate level. When we are looking outside of us, whoever you're attracted to, they're showing you what you need to heal or what is good about you. They're going to get you 100%. So wherever, that's why when you've done this work, then you're going to attract relationships that are healthier. When you have it, you're just going to attract you. And that's why you are still looking outwards and you're not getting satisfied because no one can ever give you anything that you don't already have. So if you don't have trust, if you don't believe I am, then no one can give that to you. They might be able to share it with you for a moment, but as long as you can hold it is as long as you can. And sometimes depending on who you are, you can hold that love when they're in front of you, but when they're away. You can hold it if they're right next to you, but not if they're not looking at you. We all have different ways that we need to connect emotionally. And so what we do in mirror work, transformation work, is we go back in time to see how did we adapt how we feel we need to be loved to feel like we're being loved. And that's the essence of it there, because if we don't feel we're being loved, then we become hurt, and everybody has their own way of acting when they're hurt. I like to often say that people love each other, and when they're fighting, they're not fighting each other, they're fighting their mother or their father within them with the person in front of them. And once we learn to break up with those energies in a grown-up way, when we grow up through self-love mastery, we break up with the energy frequency that raised us, not because it was bad, not because we need to shame it, because we want to create our own. We're an adult now, right? And in spiritual transformation work, that can happen when you're 80. You never know when you're going to grow up. And so it's really hard
to grow out.
To grow out. In a third, in a self-love mastery course, we work. In the first one, you work to free yourself from fear. In the second one, we deconstruct love. We open up our internal dictionary of self, family relationships. We go in there and look at them around, figure out how we're relating and creating our life. And if someone makes it to the third, it's really hard work. It's dark night of the soul work. You work on that last tool that comes up in a second transformation. Everyone's different. I can't make it up. Your journey, your little nugget will come out. It's always in the 11th week. I don't make this up. I go, oh, that's what we're working on, isn't it? And yep. And that'll spend 90 days with that one last energy frequency that we need to break up with.
Which seems full on. Yeah,
it does, and I've had transformations last longer because I'm with my clients for almost 2 years in a true self-love mastery journey, because I'm able we could go as deep as they want, and how far you can go in spiritual work. And so sometimes I'll get off the phone, I'm like, well, that's your last lesson. When you're ready, you'll know. Here's your little tips to help you whenever you feel like you need to work on it. Call me when you get there. And I've had people call back months later and go, I finally happened. And I'm like, yes, here we are, right? So it's just, if I can express to anyone that this is not a job, it's a joy. And that, finding how you were raised and learning to love the parts through that aren't working for you now is a gift to not only you, but to the people that you have trapped in those memories, because nobody's there anymore. We've all grown up, but everybody's holding those frequencies.
Which is a really nice way of putting it. That's a really nice way of putting it. And I did another one of these conversations with a woman called Lynette Gray, and she talked about, now I'm sure it was Lynette, I think so. She talked about, going back into, a memory, whether it was a difficult childhood, a difficult relationship when you were younger, and actually revisioning that memory into a positive experience. So create the parents that maybe weren't, make them the parents you wanted them or needed them to be or imagined should have been. Create the relationship and actually reimagine it because as you say, that was people at a point in time based on an energetic frequency at that time. You know, everything shifts and changes and molds, you know, and your brain doesn't know the difference between a real remembered experience.
No, it doesn't.
And an imagined experience, because a memory changes every time you remember it. You know, so it's you know, it's just a part of an experience that we have no real connection to.
It really doesn't suit us anymore. We talk about outdated memory tapes that we play. I do my work a little differently, because I believe that we don't change the memory. We love it through, because everyone was doing the best they could. And so we're not going to shame anyone. No. And that's a really deep work. So sometimes it can be very painful. It's easier sometimes for us just to maybe think of it a different way that feels good. But I guarantee you, if you want to go a step further after you get there, the best way is to accept everybody doing the best they could. And sometimes that's going to be a little hard, but if we want to really become love, there's no way to trick spirit. They know what you're bypassing or not. Yeah. Spiritual bypassing is a real thing, and that is needed for some people on their journey, because they're not ready to go the whole way. But if someone's ready to go like outer limits, everything we think is logged. There's not one. It's sometimes everyone thinks, you know, we're shown that if we don't say something, if it's not nice, spirit hears what you think. And so in a journey where you really want to become love, you're like, you're working really hard to go, oh, I didn't want to think that. And so you start retraining your brain, and that's what we do at IN. It's like we really start recoding slowly and softly of going, and the first 13 lessons are, the first 13 chapters lessons are tools. So my clients stay on with me afterwards, and then they'll tell me what they're thinking. And I'll go, oh, it sounds like you should read this blog. And they'll go dive in, and then they'll open up the next place they need to work, because these blogs are chock full of, they can help you at the beginning of a journey, and you'll be using the same blog when you're way down here, because you're going to see and hear the different parts of it. And the book, it's not rocket science. At the end of the day, it's not rocket science. You know, it's not rocket science, but our memories are, and that's the hard part. The work. I was just looking around today. I try to tell people, planet Earth is not really that hard to live on, but the way we think and the way that we use the collective conscious at this time is really it does us more harm than good, because half the things that we're remembering we don't even care about, but yet they're guiding how we react to things. Our deal breakers. Our deal breakers are, you know, I work so deeply that I work with judgment, but I worked with ocular judgment. I didn't even want to think it. I wanted to not have things happen with vision. And so there's so many facets to go into breaking open the energies that we use to create ourselves. Real time is like soul free. Like I love your work because I work with the mind deeply. And I help, and I want people to be able to open their mind so they can seek the soul. And that's the work you do. And that's why I love working with you, because I feel like we've got this perfect little bookend here. If we want to seek the soul, we have to free the mind. And once we free the mind, we open the heart. And that big open heart, that is that pure love, right? The love that's not attached to any definition, any name. It's just joy. Then we get to seek the soul and really become who we came to be, which is a tagline I use in my book too. So you and I love your work. There you go. Yeah. It's definitely again, in the book. You know, it's not, you know, I did a session with Robert Holden, who's you know, an amazing author, you know, been on Oprah, CNN. His stuff's been everywhere. And he's all about love. It's all kind of whittled down to being about love. Right. You know, and he talked. Yeah. And he talked about the fact that, you know, when somebody asks you, you know, what's your unique selling point? You're like, well, I don't have a unique selling point, because there's nothing unique in this world apart from me. I always say it's me. Yeah, exactly. Apart from me. All the concepts are the same. So it's not a surprise that we're talking about become who you were born to be. Because that's what Spirit are telling us all the time. Be who you were born to be. You know, so it's kind of like, well, you know, and that's why I say it's not rocket science. And it's interesting because, you know, this whole conversation about love and, you know, and it's handing it out, you know, as you're absolutely right. You know, when we try and find somebody who, you know, to love us the way we should be loving ourselves. The way that we don't know to. Yeah. Because, you know, at any stage in time, you know, we can be in a quirky frame of mind, and that's what we attract. But I'll never forget when I first started to do sort of more connected spiritual work, and I really started to explore it, and I was at a place called Arthur Findlay College in Stansted, and it's a college of
psychic and mediumship studies and spiritualism. You know, and there's people from all over the world go to this college. I could call it Hogwarts, affectionately. Yeah. I remember the first day that I arrived there, and we had a kind of group meditation. And this is the first time I'd ever done any work like this. You know, so I was really new to it. And I just, it was, and again, I felt kind of uncomfortable because I was like, well, who the heck am I? You know, all these people are mediums and psychics. And, you know, I just remember this meditation and going into this meditation, and I just saw my grandparents. And when I say saw them, you know, I was aware of them here on the right-hand side of my face. And it was just, I had the most overwhelming feeling of love that I did not want to leave that meditation. And if I could have stayed in that meditation forever, I would have. Like, mom, dad, boyfriend, sister, brother, friends, family, I'll see you on the other side. You know,
bye.
You know, and that's the thing that, you know, for me, which is why soul reconnection is so important, because that's where the access to all of that is.
Yeah,
that's where everything is. And you know, and I know you work with your mind, and this is interesting that we do bookend this, because I do feel that life, you know, we've spent so long working on our mind, so long working in our body, and we've completely neglected our soul self. It has not been nurtured. You know, and our spiritual well-being is inextricably linked with our mental health and our emotional health. I mean, they are the same. You know, but it's just the access to it all, you know, and when you reconnect with that part of you, that's where all the answers lie. You know, it's not in the body, it's not in the mind, it's not in the other person, it's not in the touchy-feely world round about you. You know, and I kind of feel that, which is why I love these conversations, it's kind of organic. You know, so the transformation journey, you know, for you, you know, and you've, you know, explained it beautifully, but what were the kind of, just to give people, because I'm all about the real, you know, what was the high and what was the low? What were, you know, because these were your experiences, but, you know, to try and bring it to life for people, you know, what did a high look like and what did a low look like? If you want to kind of polarize it like that.
It's a good question to ask, and my answer is going to be mine, and everyone else's answer is going to be theirs. The highs will go as high as you allow yourself to go, and the lows will go as low as you allow them to go. If you can handle going low and know you're safe, you'll go far, and you'll go into that deep, deep well, because you know, I'm safe. I could change this at any moment. If you don't know that you can change and get out of it, you shouldn't go, and you shouldn't go too low. So everyone's on their own journey. The low could be where you think you're going crazy. You know, you're like, I can't be thinking this. What's going on? Why can't I change this? I've been, you know, I've had dark night of the soul where I literally was deconstructing love. I self-guided myself. I didn't work with anyone. I haven't been to any schools. I've been doing this through spirit my whole life. And so when I found out I was deconstructing love, it seemed very odd, but it made sense, as I just deconstructed fear. When I needed to learn that love was no more important than fear. What? Love's not more important than fear? Like laughing. Someone would have thought I was a crazy person. You know, like, what do you mean it's not? Oh, Lord, you know, I was just so overwhelmed at some of the things that would come to me, because I needed to realize that a true master's path of enlightenment, which is what I'm on, is to transmute and balance the opposites. You know, the gentleman that you spoke about is right. It's only about love, because fear is unrealized love. So fear is not real. Pain is, but fear is not. And once we can learn not to let, I think fear is a third party to pain and love. And so once we don't know how to balance our feelings and emotions, it dives in spiritually, and it has a way with us. That's why you have people that are addicted to drugs, mental health, gambling, anything that's like a spiritual suicide, really. That's all because fear's figured a way to dive in and to manhandle us. We are better than that, and we're more beautiful. All we have to do is remember. But when, you know, it's not taught, and you have to find your way to it. And believe me, I thank all the people who came before us and all the spiritual ancestors that are helping us, because I feel very thankful and grateful to have found it. The low, it might be, I mean, I was using alcohol and drugs. I mean, that's pretty low, right? I couldn't stay in a relationship. That's pretty low. Everyone's low is going to look different.
And this is what sorry to interrupt you, but this is what I think is important, is that people, you know, and hold on, I might just put the light on because I'm beginning to fade. Am I kind of pixelated?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know whether that'll work, but there we go. Is that better, this?
Yeah.
So, and again, apologies for interrupting you, but I just, what people don't realize is that, you know, any work that they do is never going to be more difficult than the life they are living in trying to not connect to that. You know, so that, like you mentioned, the drugs, the alcohol, even stuff that's maybe, you know, one would consider, well, I'm not taking drugs, I'm not taking, well, you might be shopping for more you'll ever wear in your lifetime. You're maybe putting stuff on credit. You're maybe, you know, comfort or binge drinking or having meaningless sex. You know, it manifests itself in a million different ways. You know, it isn't going to get any lower than that. And you've already handled that low.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and I think that's a kind of sort of misconception with, you know, inner transformation work, is that you're going to go to a place where you're just going to go, oh, and it's like, no,
you're already there. And you made a good point. You're already there. And the only way that helped me truly, I'm the one who allowed all that darkness in. I had to fight that. It wasn't me I was fighting. It was the dark fear energy that there's a soul to it that had used when I was down. It allowed it to permeate through me and attach to me and to whatever else way you perceive it. I was not fighting me. I was fighting for my life, a life that was, you know, high functioning, but not the life I wanted. And I knew I didn't want it, and I knew I didn't have to.
No.
And so that was the key. And so when I chose to really, and I got the keys to do this work, it wasn't going to get any better unless I loved me for exactly who I was. I remember waking up, you know, hungover after a bender or partying and thinking, you know, when in the past where I would put myself down and I beat myself up, and then I would, you know, be good for a long time. And then something would happen emotionally and trigger me. And then I'd go out for the weekend and then I just beat myself up. So I was just slaving myself, bullying myself. And I really realized that was never going to heal me. No. Bullying myself was never going to heal me. If I didn't accept me for who I was, what I had created, whether or not I wanted, how I created me, I had to love her. And it's what we talk about in the second chapter in the book, through words. Everything that we say on those two inner dialogues, the as above, so below, to me is our internal and our external, and how we speak into ourselves creates our reality. And that's the lowest we'll be. People don't even know how low or how mean we are to ourselves sometimes, because no one will beat us up more than us. No one will treat ourselves or judge ourselves more than we will. It's just not capable. One thing I tell my clients that I learned through my work is that, you know, that we can't fail at being ourselves. We can't. And that nobody thinks about us as much as we do. And if that's true, then everyone else is going around in that same carriage. And so we're all just spinning around each other, thinking bad things and worrying that other people are thinking badly of us, until we realize that they don't even, if we're not in front of them and we're not their husband, mother, then they're usually probably not thinking about us. And even then, they are in their own mind. Think about how often you have time to think about other people. You have to decide to do that. And when you do, it's not all the time. It always comes back to us. We're a machine running. We're a spiritual being having a human experience. So we're operating this body, right? And so we're really focused on us. So once we start being nice to ourselves, we get to seek that soul. You know, we get to do that soul connection that you talk about. It all has to do with never feeling like you're unworthy. Even if you did something that you're ashamed of, or you want to stop doing, or if someone else is shaming you, be careful of that, because anyone who's shaming you really is shaming themselves. That's mirror work. So there might be some truth to it, but it's never going to be our truth. Two different versions. And that's the trick to mirror work. Taking the keys back to your mind so you can see your soul is the most powerful work you'll do, because you will get in the way. The soul work that Vicky's talking about, we have to open our anahata, that heart chakra. And the only thing between that is our throat. That's our fifth chakra. And that's anything that we have fear will come out here. So it will block our heart chakra. So until we learn to speak our truth and love ourselves fearlessly, no matter what, we will block that connecting to our heart, that pure space of love for our soul to shine. we won't be able to keep it open per se for long periods of time. It will shut down open, because again, we're bullying ourselves. We have to stop bullying ourselves. And once we do that, we stop bullying everybody, because the only reason we ever act out is because we're acting out, I believe, through the deepest point of mirror work to ourselves. We're literally showing ourselves every day by what we watch, what we feed ourselves, who we interact with, what we read. We're showing ourselves how to heal ourselves.
Absolutely. Oh, well, listen, I'm not even going to go to the final stage. I think this has just been an amazing organic conversation, and, so full of insight, and, and it's wonderful, to have somebody that's, so passionate about the work that they do, because I think, that really lifts it, and that's what's inspiring, and that's the energy that people, connect with. And I guess, for anybody who wants to connect with you or work with you, you work with people all over the world, I guess?
Yeah. I do, because I work online. It's really easy. I told Spirit what I wanted to do for work, and I'm doing it. Now I just need to let them know that I'm ready to meet my soulmate and leave it at that. That's what Vicky gave me today. Hand over.
I have to say though, the trust thing is it's a constant journey. And, for anyone watching this, neither Kellie nor I have it fixed. We are always learning. We are always work in progress. We are always open to learn more and understand more. And that's just the journey, but what it does do is, well, crikey, if Kellie hasn't sold it for you, then I don't know what the heck has, for God's sake. It is the key to, a life of joy, a life of purpose and meaning. So if people want to connect with you, tell them, how they can come across you on the internet, about your book. This is your plug moment.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm Kellie J. Wright, and that's Kellie, middle initial J, Wright, WRIGHT. I know that our internet are a little bit different, UK versus, United States. But if you Google Kellie J. Wright, I'll come up all over the place. I've been on this journey for 7 years, sharing from the heart, just living and growing out loud to show people what it looks like to go through a spiritual transformation journey. There's videos, blogs on YouTube under Kellie J. Wright. My 7-year journey's there. I literally videotaped my check-in. So you'll watch me go through the ups and downs.
How brave.
And I didn't know I was, at the beginning, I didn't realize I was going to become all this, but I don't have any shame, and I never have. So I was like, let's go out there and show everybody. That's also. But
that inspires other people to do it, because
I hope.
Somebody met me, and incidentally, I will put all the details in the comments below. I'll put website and all the rest of it. But
my website, yeah.
A friend of my husband's that we visited at the weekend, and he had very kindly bought my book on pre-order, and he said to me, good on you for you just putting yourself out there and just showing up, and I was like, you're right, because that's one of the things, it's like, absolutely, because if I'm not going to do it, how the heck do you expect anyone else to do it? And the more people that get out there and show, and I hate using the word normal, but for me, my background was media and PR, and I struggled to find people, when I first started on my journey that looked like me. And it's not that you need to look like me and I'm white, that's got nothing to do with it, but they're just somebody that I could visually see myself in them, and I think the more people, the more colors, religions, creeds, shapes, sizes that get out there and honestly put themselves out there, the better chance there are of, other people in the world seeing themselves in your journey and my journey. And that's ultimately what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and seeing that we're all one, because we really are. And the more that we get to see everyone doing it, it feels normal versus, as you said, abnormal.
Yeah.
And we came to do that, so that we heard the call, that we answered, and that we're doing this. We do deserve to give ourselves a little pat on the shoulder, because it's as much as we think everyone's doing it, they're not, but they will.
We had the publishers, we had a conference call or something, and they said, I think it's 2% of the world are doing spiritual work or growth work, you know, and we use spiritual in the loosest sense of the word, because spiritual means so many things to so many different people. It does,
yeah.
You know, so I don't mean it's like, you know, a specific path. You know, and you then sit and think, well, oh my God, what's a great business to be in, because 98% of the world is a potential client. Whoa.
Except for that our competition is fear.
Absolutely. Oh God. Yeah. And just, you know, a kind of takeaway, I guess, you know, if you've got any advice or any offerings, or there's anything that you just want to pass on to anybody watching.
I do.
Not necessarily to sum up, but just anything that comes to mind.
I do. I just want anyone who's watching to know that it only takes one thought, one moment to go, maybe I could do this differently. Maybe I might have this wrong. It's so hard to admit that to ourselves, but once we can do that, we've put a sliver in that doorway to go, wow, I just got spiritual chills through my back, because even I still do that, because there's always further to grow. Whatever reality that you were raised in that's creating your world, there's another one out there, and it's bigger and better. It's how we bridge out and grow. And if you're looking at this, you're already making that step. So trust yourself. You can't fail at being you. You can't. You're beautiful. You're perfect. You're on a journey. And once we start realizing, oh, I came to learn all the things that I'm shaming, then we start loving them, because we know they're tools and they're gifts to open, to figure out what we're meant to assimilate in this earth journey. And then we became powerful co-creators, because we're not shaming ourselves. It's really important to remember that self-love is the only key that's going to help you do that, because there's no one outside of you that can turn your keys. They're internal. And if you don't love yourself, you're going to be looking for something to replace that love. I know. I did it my whole life. I thought I'd wake up. I mean, thought I was awake before I did this work, and I thought I was going to get to where I am now a lot sooner, but I'm happy to be here, and I say bless you. I hope that you find your way. I hope that you love every day, no matter what it is, because you're beautiful, and everyone in our world is doing and being exactly who they are, and that we need everyone to do that. And then when you remember who you are, you can love yourself and be soul free. It's how we change the whole frequency on earth, from fear to love, and all hearts are needed.
Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love, you can't fail at being you.
You can't.
You cannot fail. I love that. That's a perfect sum up. You cannot fail at being you. Kellie J. Wright, thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule, you know, to
Vicky
chat.
J. Paul, thank you.
You know, and thank you guys for watching. I'll put all the details of how you can connect with both myself and Kellie in the comments below. And if you do want to find out more information, then please follow me on YouTube. Please make sure, if you bring it up to the camera, Internal Journeys, is that on Amazon? Can people get it on Amazon?
Yes, it is. And there's 19 sparkling reviews on there for you to read.
Oh, well, congratulations. We'll get everything into the comments. Check out my website, vickypaul.com, and my new book, How to Be SuccessSoul, is also out for a very, yay, look at that. So
I'm so excited. Can't wait to read it. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Perfect.